condition and by the aid of goto statements, while do loop is the same. This shows you the repetition programming structure. There are three kinds of goto statements available in Fortran: normal goto, computed goto, and assign goto. This is an example for the normal goto. First, the program says go to the 30th line, and then it will direct it to the 15th line, and again in 15th line it will direct it to the 10th line. This is an example for the computed goto. According to the arithmetic expression, the called line will be differ. Activation records. We need to know exactly where to return the control when the subprogram finished processing. Just simplify entering the subprogram would be leave no way to know how to get back. Used to store the state before calling a subprogram. Activation records involved instruction pointer, machine registers, parameter values, values of references, dynamic links to caller's activation record. This shows the sequence of sub-programs, but this might get differ according to the caller and callee. This is a sample coding and shows how runs the activation records. There are no 4 different instruction pointers. The single instruction pointer will move on to these 4 different locations. This will be further explained by next few slides. These functions and main method is not syntactically correct. It shows you how the activation records running. Main program call to the function y, and function y keep a dynamic link to the main program. In function y, it will call to the function x, and the dynamic will be kept on function y. This is how the activation records are called. These 2 lines indicates the memory. First, it will load the main program, and the instruction pointer point to the main program in T1 time. In T2 time, the main program called to the function y. Then the activation record of y will be created. It will keep a dynamic link to activation record of main method, and instruction pointer will move from main method to the function y. When the time is T2, there will be 3 activation records. ARY will call to the ARX, and the instruction pointer will move on activation record of y to activation record of x in T3 time period. In T4 time period, activation record of x is finished. Only available activation record of y and activation record of m. Instruction pointer will point to activation record of y. In In T5 time period, ARY has finished his execution. Only available activation record is ARM. Instruction pointer will point to activation record of main method. There are advantages and disadvantages in Fortran. Advantages of Fortran. Fortran is machine-oriented language, easy to debug, machine-independent, decrease the total amount of elapsed time. Fortran uses operator precedence. Fortran has subprograms such as separate compilations. Machine-oriented language. The most important advantage of Fortran program is it was easy to learn and compared to machine-oriented language. There are two aspects of this. First, even though the programming language can be complicated, it ease of learning comes about because the notification is fairly related to the problem zone that is not to the machine code. And second, more focus is placed on the language and the logic of the program, whereas when the dealing is machine code and focus is on the characteristic of physical hardware. Fortran programs are easy to debug. It is easier to debug from Fortran program written using high-level programming language than a program written with low-level language. Decrease the total amount of elapsed time. Fortran program decrease the total amount of the elapsed time from the beginning of the problem to its solution. This is specifically true for the problems in which a small number of cases need to be run. The elapsed time will reduce from months to weeks in some cases, or even days to hours in different cases. Fortran uses operator precedence. An important idea is the precedence or priority of an operator. This was developed so that his algebraic notation would be unambiguous and have expected meaning. Subprograms are largely independent from one another. They can be separately translated to reallocatable object code by the compiler and later combined by Lanka. Hence, when one module of program is modified, only that module has to be recompiled, because it can later be linked with the already compiled versions of the other modules. In a large program, this means a great saving of computer time. Disadvantages of Fortran: very difficult and hard to learn. Additional process of compilation needs more machine time. Lack of reserved keywords was a mistake. Fortran ignores blank spaces. Go-to statement is the fact that Fortran has very weak typing. High-level language might be very difficult and hard to learn, and also its appropriate attention is placed on the compiler and other aspects of the problem.